Okay, today's lesson is 8.7, and we're solving one-step inequalities. The thing that you will like about this lesson is you're used to solving one-step equations, so you're going to follow mostly the same process. It's just that because it's an inequality with a greater than or less than, there will be multiple possible answers. We're going to start on page 636 today. And we're solving the inequalities, and I apologize, Alexis, it does want us to graph some of these things. Alright, so here we go. We're going to solve the inequality, and then we're going to graph the solution on a number line. Example 1 and 2 are both done for you in the book, so I'll leave those. Let's look at got it problem A. We have n plus 2 will be less than or equal to 5. Alright, so just like when we were solving equations, we have to get the variable by itself, and we use opposite operations to undo to get the variable by itself. Alright, so here we have a plus 2. So what's the opposite of addition, Emma L? Subtraction. So we will subtract 2. And what we do to one side of the inequality, we must. So we will do that here as well. Cancels them out here for us. So now n must be less than or equal to 543. So then we take what we learned yesterday to make a graph. Okay, so my initial number is going to be a 3. I like to put it in the middle. 2 smaller and 2 bigger. Alright, so now I have to put my circle around the 3. I have less than or equal to. So will I have an open dot or a closed dot, Nadia? Let's close the dot. And n must be less than 3. So what numbers on this line are less than 3, Lucas?
1 and 2.
So my arrow will have to go this way. Must be less than 3. As I was looking through your work from yesterday, I noticed many of you got confused with this greater than and less than sign. You've got to get that in your brain. You've got to remember which side means less than, which side means greater than. You'll need to go back and relook at that lesson probably and make sure that that's not your issue before you have your final submission. Alright, let's look at B. Y minus 3 must be greater than 9. What is our variable in this situation? Paige?
Y.
Good. So y needs to be by itself to solve the inequality. Who can tell me the first thing we'll do to solve, Lamar? And so what is the opposite in this particular case? We'll add 3 to both sides. 3's will cancel. Y's alone. It must be greater than 9, 10, 11, 12. Y must be greater than 12. Okay, so now we'll graph. My initial number is 12. I'll put it at the center. 2 smaller. 2 bigger. My circle goes around the 12. Now I have to decide, will I leave it open or do I close this dot, Hannah?
Open.
It's open because 12 will not be included. It doesn't say greater than or equal to. It just has to be bigger than 12. Now, which numbers on the graph are bigger than 12, Erica? So my arrow will go to the right this time to show y must be greater than 12. Okay? Continuing on to page 637. This time we're going to just use division and multiplication. So we'll skip down to the got it at problem C because examples 3 and 4 are worked out in your book for you. C says 10x needs to be less than 80.
So we will divide.
Okay, because we have multiplication, so we will divide
10.
to get the x by itself. So we will divide this by 10, and what we do to one side, we must.
Do the other.
Our 10s will disappear. X is by itself. It needs to be less than. Now we have to say 80 divided by 10.
8.
All right, so X will need to be less than 8. All right, I'll draw my graph. All right, 8 is where I'll start the graph in the middle. 2 smaller, 2 bigger. Circle goes around 8. Now I need to determine, am I going to close the dot? Yes or no? You don't sound very confident.
No.
We're not going to close it because we're not going to include 8 as part of the answer. It's not less than or equal to. It's just less than. All right, so X must be less than 8. What numbers on my graph are less than 8? Page?
6, 7.
All right, so my arrow will go to the left. D says X divided by 6 should be greater than or equal to 7. All right, so opposite of division is multiplication. So we have to multiply by the inverse because technically this is 1 over 6. Here's how I do it. I put the parentheses because remember parentheses means multiply. Put the parentheses all the way around and then I'll put 6 over 1, which is just the same as saying 6. So when I multiply this by 6 over 1, that's the same as saying just multiplying by 6 because I would put 7 over 1 and it's the same, cross top, cross bottom. All right, so that will cancel out my 6's. I'm left with X needs to be greater than or equal to, now 7 times 6, 42. So now I'm ready to draw my graph. I'll put 42 at the center. 2 smaller, 2 bigger. Put my circle around 42. Now I need to determine, will I close the circle? It says greater than or equal to, so yes, I will close the circle because 42 has to be included. X must be greater than 42. What numbers on this graph are greater than 42, Emma L?
It would be 40 and 43. I think I worded that wrong.
That's okay. I know which direction you're talking about. We're going to go 43 and then 44 to complete that graph. The last type of example will be a word problem where you have to read through the problem to figure out what your inequality should be. Then you'll have to solve the inequality and graph it. So if you look on page 638, we see our word problem. Laverne I guess we're going way back with that name. Laverne is making bags of party favors for each of the 7 friends attending her party. She does not want to spend more than $42 on the party favors. Let's write and solve an inequality to find the maximum cost for each party favor bag. All right, so we know the total cost is $42, and she does not want the cost to go over that. So she wants, but she can spend $42. She still wanted to go over. So the cost needs to be less than or equal to $42. All right, but how many friends does she have? 7. So each friend gets one of the bags. So that's why we are going to multiply 7 times the cost of one bag. That combined will be less than or equal to 42. So then we will need to solve it. So opposite of multiplication, Hannah?
Divide by 7.
We'll divide both sides by 7. The cost will be less than or equal to $6. So then if I graph it, 6 will go at the middle. I'll need 2 smaller and 2 bigger. My circle goes around the 6. Will I close the circle? Less than or equal to, so yes. Close the circle. Cost must be less than 6. What numbers on my graph are less than 6, Seth?
4 and 5.
So my arrow will go to the left to show less than. Any questions?